fire. President Obama's signature legislation, the Affordable Care Act, is a hot topic on the campaign trail today and yesterday after the government announced that premiums will skyrocket by an average of 25% next year. In some states, we're talking about increases of more than 100%. I want to bring in Tennessee Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn right now on this. Congressman, good to see you.
You too.
Thank you so much for joining us. In Tennessee, approved premium increases ranging from 44% to 62%. Incredible.
That's right.
Could this be a game changer for Donald Trump with less than 2 weeks before the election? Is this the kind of issue that's going to resonate with voters?
Absolutely, because it is one of those traditional pocketbook issues. And one of the main calls we get into our congressional office right now is, what are you going to do about Obamacare and how do we get insurance? You know, this is amazing. People are saying, we don't have anywhere to go to get insurance. What are we going to do? Who can we contact? And what has happened is Blue Cross has come out of the market totally in Nashville, Memphis, and Knoxville. They're still in the rural areas in the state. But people in those areas now have only one or two providers. So, Maria, what we've been saying, with you're going to have a narrowing in your options for insurance, you're going to have a narrowing in your options for health care delivery because the networks will narrow. There will be fewer people that will take these individuals because of the slow pay that comes their direction from the government once they have rendered the service.
This has to be one of the key reasons that the economy is as slow as it is. I mean, Congresswoman, when you look at the fact that this is, for many people, the biggest expense that they face, other than their mortgage.
That's right. You're right. Individually, it is. Plus, for small businesses, you have people that are at that threshold. And I talked to someone last night who has a company, and they are not adding anybody. They're not expanding because they don't want to get over that Obamacare threshold where that employer mandate is going to hit them. Now, what is happening with this is a reflection, and it is what we went through in Tennessee when we were the test case for Hillary Care. And this was a program called TennCare that was put in place in Tennessee in the mid-90s. It quadrupled in cost over a 5-year period of time. By the end of its first decade, a governor, a Democrat governor, had to take 300,000 people out of the program because the program had grown to be 35.3% of the state budget. Unaffordable, too expensive to afford, too expensive to use, and it does not work. It will bankrupt you.
Congresswoman, it's Dagan McDowell, though.
Yeah, Dagan.
And the Wall Street Journal has a great editorial today about Democrats deserve to pay the price for shoving this down the throats of the American people. However, if Republicans are going to take advantage of this, not just necessarily Donald Trump, but in the local elections, in the down ballot elections, you've got to come up with more than just telling people what's wrong with what they've got.
Well, we have had a replacement bill, and actually there are two separate. Tom Price, Dr. Tom Price out of Georgia, has had a replacement bill in place for years. You have the work we have done from Energy and Commerce, where we put together many bills into one bill that will move forward through our Better Way agenda. That is the repeal and replacement. And Dagan, what you have to do is the first thing, Title I of the Affordable Care Act, unaffordable, is the insurance title. You have to go in and remove that, repeal that title, and in its place put my legislation, which is the across state line purchase of health insurance. Basically, that opens up the healthcare marketplace so individuals can buy what is going to work for them at a price they can afford. Right. And then you add in the portability components, you come back in and you get to the other positions that deal with the delivery of healthcare and the affordability of that.
Morgan?
Good morning, Congressman. Thank you so much for being on today. The last time you were here, we were talking about the electoral vote, and what was happening with Trump in your state, and what was happening with millennials and women. It looks like that he's headed for a clear victory in Tennessee. But what is your synopsis of the next 13 days, and can he get the Republican Party and the undecideds over the hump, especially women?
Oh, Morgan, you know, you're exactly right. He's going to win big in Tennessee, and I think his victory across the country in the rural and underserved areas is going to be much larger than expected. Now, when you look at getting over that hump, my advice to him is to talk about Obamacare, talk about Hillary Clinton's emails and what we're learning from those emails. Talk about the Clinton Foundation and how they have done influence peddling and pay to play. And then talk about his 100-day agenda. What you're going to do when you get there. I thought the speech he gave at Gettysburg was terrific. And so talk about what you're going to do. Leave everything else alone. But what is beginning to resonate with individuals across the country, and it is the emails, what we're learning there, it is the Veritas videos, and what is coming to light through those with how they have gone in and colluded with the DNC and the different projects to disrupt Trump rallies and the Donald Duck episode. Those are things people see as silliness. They're worried about national security, jobs and economic security, and retirement security.
You're right. I mentioned earlier, I thought that this election has become as much about jobs and the economy as it has become about end the corruption. I mean, you see those videos where they're hiring people, mentally challenged people, and putting them in these positions where they're going to get hurt because they're hiring them to go incite violence. It's just extraordinary. Congresswoman, are you concerned, though, about President Obama's down-ballot and state legislative push that may cut into Donald Trump's lead? I mean, he's out and about and trying really hard to make sure to get behind his candidates in these down-ballot races.
Well, he is, and they're talking about it, but I got to tell you, I think it is so many of these races, Maria, all politics is local, and many of your state house and state senate candidates have served their constituencies very well, and I don't see him having the impact there that he thinks he's going to have. And here's the other thing, and Morgan, we've talked about this before also. You have to remember the presidential election is a compilation of 50 state races. And all of these polls on national trends, they're just that. They're what people are thinking at that point in time. But you have to get on the ground with these races. Our candidates on the Republican side have been very aggressive in their door-to-door campaigns, their personal contact, and people that are going to win these congressional seats and people that are going to win the state house and state senate seats, they are out knocking doors every single day. They're contacting voters. As I say, high tech requires high touch, and that's exactly what they're doing.
Congresswoman Bob Nardelli here. I'm assuming that you're going to retain control of the House.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about, with Speaker Ryan, how do we pull everybody back together and use the strength of control of the House to really get things done the next 4 years?
And coming together is where the emphasis should be. There are different factions that are within the Republican conference, and everyone knows that. What we need to do is make certain that everyone is heard, and our focus needs to be on accomplishing some things where there is going to be agreement in our conference. Is there agreement on pushing forward some forms of tax reform? Absolutely, that is. Let's focus on that. Let's focus on the details of getting some data security provisions in place so that the virtual space is a bit more secure. And there is agreement that that needs to be done. Do we need to make certain that we are aggressively putting in place some components that replace Obamacare and the broken nature of this? It is imploding. And just as Maria said, you got to have something else there. And Dagan brought this point up. You know, What we have to do, Bob, is to say, you take down this title, you insert this other provision, because there is a better way of handling this, and we want to be aggressive on that and not sit around and wait for the president, whether it is Trump or Clinton, to say, this is what we're going to do. We have different bills that are ready to move. Let's move them. And I think Donald Trump should be working with House members right now saying, okay, let's get some of these bills in the queue that will be aggressive in pushing in the first 100 days.
Congresswoman, did you see this Justin Timberlake selfie? He flies
yes, I did.
Oh, my God. He flies more than 1,700 miles to vote in Tennessee. He shares an Instagram photo with his 37 million followers. He encourages them to get out and vote. Ballot selfies are against the law, aren't they?
That's right. Yes, they are. And there is a big sign when you go in to vote in Tennessee. I went in yesterday afternoon and voted. There's a sign that you cannot use mobile devices in the voting place. So I guess he was a bit of travel fatigue, and he just didn't read the signs that were posted.
Justin Timber idiot.
Great carbon footprint.
Wow.
Right.
Congresswoman, good to see you as always. Thank you so much for spending the time. We so appreciate it. Marsha Blackburn joining us there from Tennessee.